As at 28th March 2021, over 127 million COVID-19 cases had been recorded across the globe, with 71.8 million recoveries and 2.78 million deaths. Of these astronomical figures, statistics from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) shows that Nigeria's COVID-19 profile in the last 1 year has been dilly-dallying. However, with over 162,000 cases, over 150,000 recoveries, and a little over 2,000 deaths, Nigeria is among the high-profile nations with seemingly few casualties. When Nigeria recorded her index case into March 2020 and the subsequent spread, there was an initial defiance in town about the authenticity of the cases, but Nigerians were pegged to reality when VIPs started losing their lives to the dreaded virus. Nigeria's ex-chief of staff Abba Kyari, ex-governor of Oyo State Abiola Ajimobi, Senator Bayo Oshinowo, Senator Buruji Kashamu, among other prominent Nigerians, lost their lives to COVID-19, and this just about confirmed the authenticity of the disease. With the cases rising and the deaths increasing, the federal government had no option than to enforce a total lockdown in every part of the country. Schools were shut, banks were closed, offices could not open as panic gripped the land. But some of those terribly affected by the development were private school owners and teachers. Therefore, this special report, supported by the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, touches the light on how teachers coped during this pandemic and how school owners have had to wield the big stick in getting rid of some of their staff. Legit.ng's Damilare spoke with teachers and school owners in Abuja, Oyo, Ogun, and Lagos states to carry out this report. He also spoke with people from Ghana and the United States of America for comparative analysis. In Ibadan, Adenike, a bursar who earned 41,000 naira monthly, testified that her employer fired her and some other high-profile staff of the company, even though they had been asked to stay home and resume when the lockdown was lifted.
Exactly May 5, 2020, I received a letter of relief of appointments, so to say. Actually, before that time, we've been summoned, some of all the staff were summoned for a meeting by the management of the school, and we were told that since there is COVID and there is no payment of the school, they can't afford to be paying us. And also we agreed that, okay, since they cannot afford, then pending the time that the school resumed, they will continue payment. We all agreed, and all of a sudden we were just told that I'm not the only one. We are like 7 staffs, key staff there, and we were told that our appointment has been relieved, that we should go back home.
Like Adenike, ADESOLA ONISOLA, a staff of Solid Life Schools, ORIMERUNMU, Ogun State, was also asked to stay home as a result of the lockdown, and without pay immediately after this information was passed to her. She also spoke about how the pandemic thwarted other plans she had.
Like her health, yes, because nobody planned for it. We did not even see it coming. So when something came, it was sudden, and let me say it was towards the end of the month, which is March. It was March, and we were like having the mind that, okay, we paid our salary, but unfortunately the pandemic came and we all had to go home without collecting salary. And in the process, when we were called upon to come and collect our salary, I think we collected it in 3 forms. As in, first collected the part payment, then subsequently it was not even half, and so that was how we collected the money. And actually, for the time we had, I had some plans ahead, but when the pandemic came, so I couldn't embark on those plans I had in the mind of doing. So it wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy, you know, when you don't have any other source of income. Just have to like looking onto God that okay, oh, maybe if one of your brothers or sisters remembers you, you have to call you and say, okay, send the account number, then they do some transfer just to keep you intact.
Two school owners from different parts of the country also shared their experiences, as it was becoming increasingly difficult to meet up with salary payments and other expenses. OLUWAYOMI OLADEJI, who runs the primary school also in Ogun State, lamented how her work was affected and how she had to depend on her parents for survival, as it had now become difficult to fend for herself because her students had stopped coming to school.
In the state of Nigeria. Was I affected during the pandemic? Of course, I was affected during the pandemic. As a school, we couldn't pay staff because we were not engaging in the online classes. We don't have the facilities for that, so as such we couldn't, there was no income, we couldn't ask for the parents to pay fees, so we were not able to pay our staff. Personally, was I stranded? For the greater part of the pandemic, yes, I was stranded. How did I cope? Well, for one, I still live under my parents' roof, so there was a kind of support coming from them. And secondly, I have another source of income, which is not just the school. I have another source of income. I am into thrift, what my people here call ukrika. So I sell that, and at the point I had to start going from house to house to help my wares because money must be made, and that was how I coped during the pandemic. Also, when the parents noticed the lockdown was getting too long and the students, the children were staying home too long, they reached out to me for home lessons, and that was another way I coped through the pandemic. Home lessons, go to their houses to teach them, to teach families, and it's because of the kind of environment that the school is situated. The money for the lesson is ridiculous because each child will pay 15 naira per class for the lesson. But it's something we do out of passion, and I was really open to it because at the end of the day, when schools are asked to open up again, these children are still coming back to school. I've seen the one that will have to still teach them, and the fact that they are staying at home does not pay anybody. So something I had to be open to, and I was really glad when the parents themselves reached out to me to come and teach at that fee. And basically that was how I personally coped during the pandemic. For my staff, I know some that had to go to the main market. In Ogun State, markets were open on certain days, so I know some that had to go to market to sell liners. Yes, I know one particular that has to go sell liners, and people just have to fend for themselves. It was to your tent go Israel during the pandemic.
In Abuja, Gabriel, the head teacher of BABYLOVE School, Airport Road, Abuja, narrated how they were expecting government grants as they had heard in the news, but it never came.
Even though the lockdown was necessary, it really didn't pay off for us as teachers and for schools generally, because for a very long period of time, the students stayed away from learning. There's so much advantage in group learning and physical contact with the children, but all those were lost. Even though they had online classes, it wasn't just enough. There was need for interaction, physical interaction with the children, but all those were not there. So it affected the children, it affected us too, the teachers, to an extent. For here in my school, we had like 80% attendance after the lockdown. I knew that happened because most of the parents were tired having the children at home, and the children too wanted to be in school. So we had like 80% attendance. A few parents didn't allow their children resume for fear of COVID, but subsequently, with little time, they all came back to school. I also heard the news the government was going to support schools with grants to run their school because of the loss during the lockdown. But my school didn't get anything.
With all these tales, how did the teachers cope with the fact that they had to stay jobless for most parts of the pandemic?
So, during the pandemic, I had to embark on private lessons because we thought it was going to last for some months, not knowing that something will take more than how many months? Was it not 4 months? More than that. We spent like 6 months at home. Yes. So during the pandemic, I had to embark on private home lessons, which I used to sustain myself because we have to live.
Glory to God. You know, one has to plan for the dry season. During rainy season, you plan for the dry season. I have to start with a petty business. So I'm into pastry and I'm into house cleaning. I'm a soap cleaning too. So that has helped me. Actually, I have the idea of this, but due to the nature of my job, that doesn't give me much time to do it. So an opportunity arise for me to start doing something. And glory be to God, I've started.
The reporter tried to compare events in Nigeria with what was obtainable in Ghana and the United States of America, especially as private school teachers in both countries were also affected by the pandemic. Caroline ANIPAH, the director of DUBAWA Ghana, spoke extensively about how the Ghanaian government assisted school owners and teachers with as much as 100,000 Ghana cedis to help cushion the effects of the pandemic.
The education sector was arguably one of the most hardest hit by the pandemic. I think in Ghana we have both private schools and then public schools, which I'm sure it contains elsewhere. So teachers who taught in public schools during the period continued to be paid their salaries in full. They were home from March 15 to the middle of January 2020, where they had to report back in schools. During the period, they continued to enjoy their salaries in full. However, there were reports that private school teachers did not have the same benefit. Their owners, in fact, complained that they were unable to pay these teachers because they themselves were facing hardships. They were unable to collect school fees because schools were asked to shut down just when they were about to collect school fees from pupils and students. So they were in no position to pay their employees. And so it was quite a hard time for them. The kinds of support that I am aware of they received, one was from their members of parliament. So I'm told that some teachers were supported by their members of parliament, were given food items by them during the period. And then also government instituted a stimulus package that was a loan for 1 year for teachers. This loan was supposed to, available to them was supposed to have been between 100,000 and then 200,000 Ghana cedis. But from reports I got, some people had as low as 100 Ghana cedis, which they complained was really inadequate for anything important.
Also in the United States of America, the federal government released about $3 billion as reviewed by OLUWAYOMI, a teacher with the New York City Department of Education.
And during this pandemic, it has really impacted the public school sector and the private school sector as well. The government here in America provided funds, relief funds, to fund the public schools as well as the private schools. And the funding for private schools will be used to address some of the learning loss for the students and also for them to be able to provide, summer school for all the kids that have been impacted by this pandemic and other forms of programming. And with that, students will be able to recover as well from the pandemic, and they will be able to get the quality education that they deserve from the funding, which is about $3 billion that have been allocated to private schools in the U.S.
Will the federal government of Nigeria also tow this path and make life better for teachers, school owners who may have suffered as a result of this pandemic?